Okay. Our next speaker is Martin Lechner. He's the Wikitude CTO in the company behind the Wikitude SDK and the Wikitude World Browser. In addition to his day job at Wikitude, he is chairing the Augmented Reality Markup Language, ARML 2.0 Standards Working Group within the Open Geospatial Consortium. So, give a hand.
Alrighty. Thanks for the introduction. So, as you already said, I'm representing Wikitude, and without any further delay, because we only have 20 minutes and it's sharp as far as I know, we're going to jump right into the Wikitude SDK and what we can do. Well, basically, the Wikitude SDK combines geo-based and image recognition-based augmented reality. So you can do both with our SDK. Geo-based, or sometimes referred to as sensor-based, compass, GPS, and all that kind of stuff, and image recognition technology. So these are the two building blocks of the SDK. And the content basically is created in JavaScript. So the Wikitude SDK as such is a high-level augmented reality SDK. So you don't have to worry about all these complex algorithms, all the stuff. It's all in the background. The Wikitude SDK really is on the top level, on the high level. So what you do is you create your content using HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and all the other web technologies that you're familiar with when you've ever developed web pages. So if you look at the application or platform stack here, the Wikitude SDK basically comprises two layers or tiers in the architecture. On top of the native OS, it runs the Wikitude SDK core, which does all the complex calculation for you, all the image recognition stuff, all the sensor evaluation, all that type of thing. So you don't have to worry about that. On top of that is a JavaScript API and the web view, where you basically develop your content towards. You describe your content, the things that you actually want to show in JavaScript and in web view, basically. So the Wikitude SDK is available for Android, iOS, and BlackBerry 10. And as we are web-based, we're cross-platform, we also do support a couple of plugins, basically mainly for PhoneGap and for Titanium or Appcelerator, things that you can basically download from our webpage. So let's move to if we go back to the Wikitude SDK core, so a little bit more details on this. If you've ever used the Wikitude SDK before, you will have seen that it basically comprises three main building blocks here. One is the geo-based sensor stuff, as I've already told you. The 3D engine, the stuff that is actually rendering in the web view. And then the third one was the image recognition, the Vuforia plugin. We were using the Vuforia Qualcomm SDK to do all the image recognition part. And with the next SDK release, which will be in spring this year, and technically it's still spring, as we've heard today, we will replace the Vuforia image recognition parts with our own tracking solution, our own image recognition engine. The reason for that is because we want to give the developers a fully integrated solution, a fully optimized solution for developing AR content. And it's just a lot easier for us to optimize the algorithms, the entire SDK, if we do have our own image recognition solution. So again, with the next spring release, we will have our own image recognition solution you can actually work on. So how does that look? The image recognition part, again, optimized, fully in-house solution. You will be able to track more than 1,000 targets on the latest devices, basically at the same time, offline. It took a couple of months, actually, to develop that, obviously, and we put some significant effort into it so that you can actually make use of that. On a code level, as this is a developer event, it's interesting to show some code as well. But basically, this is what you do. This is our API if you want to do image recognition. You have a target, as you've seen in the other presentations. This is usually the starting point of an image recognition scenario. You upload this to something that we call the target management system, You can upload multiple images, as much as you want, basically. And the target management system, which is an online solution, will convert these images into a Wikitude target collection, or WTC file. This is what you will get. And in this target collection, you have all these images which are referenced by ID, which you actually want to track. So what you do is, on a JavaScript level, you create the tracker, which references the path to your target collection. So the very first line here, you create a new tracker, and you reference the Wikitude target collection. And within this tracker, you have multiple tracking targets that you actually want to track. So the separate images that you've just uploaded. And they're all referenced via an ID. So what you do is you specify the trackable 2D object, as we call it. That's the image that you want to track. You reference the tracker, you reference the ID, and then you specify how these things should actually be augmented in your augmented reality scenario. So with these couple of lines, you will actually be able to do some basic image recognition already with our SDK. And as you see here, it's really on a very high level. You don't have to worry about projection matrices and stuff like that. Okay, aside from the image recognition capabilities that I've just shown, I just want to do not a really deep dive, because in a couple of minutes you can really do a deep dive on an SDK, but just on a high level what the features actually are which are supported in the Wikitude SDK. The API as such comprises of two main parts, how you actually describe the scene. One is, as you've seen in the previous slide and also here, something that we call the drawables. The drawables are the things that are actually visible on the screen, the virtual objects, the things that you can actually see on the screen. This is one main block, and the second one is the augmented reality objects, as we call it. These are the things that are actually tracked, or it's basically the link into the reality. So for example, reusing the same example from the last slide, here you would augment some kind of reference image with a drawable, which is a 3D model in the very first slide. That's just, assuming, of course, that all these objects have been initialized. This is what you do. You specify drawables. This is the representation on the screen. And you specify the link into the reality, which is the image in the very first example. And in the second example, as I said, Wikitude SDK combines both image recognition and geospatial AR. You can also use something that we call geo-objects, where you would specify geolocation, lat long, altitude, if available. And again, you can use the exact same concepts here. You can specify drawables, you can apply them to multiple objects, either geo-based or image recognition-based. So that's the basic setup of the Wikitude SDK. And now let's move into some core aspects of what you can do with the SDK. For drawables, we support multiple kinds of drawables, two-dimensional and three-dimensional drawables. For two-dimensional drawables, of course, there's text and images and all that kind of stuff, the regular, easy stuff that you already know. But there's something that we call HTML drawables in our SDK, so you really have the flexibility to style the appearance of your visual objects as you want to, using HTML. So what you can do is you can either specify a URI linking to a HTML page, which will then actually be visible in the three-dimensional scene, or you can also describe your HTML just in the JavaScript file here. However you want to do that, you can do that using HTML drawables. Then we also support 3D models, of course. FBX and Collada files are basically supported. For optimized rendering engine, again, we are really into optimizing, giving developers a really optimized package. So we use something that we call the Wikitude 3D encoder, which converts FBX and Collada files into an internal format which is optimized for our rendering engine in the mobile device. So what you would do is you would download the Wikitude 3D encoder, throw in an FBX or Collada file, and what you will get out of it can then be supplied to the Wikitude SDK. We do have full animation support, skeleton animations, and translations in the 3D models. And again, it's fully controllable through the JavaScript API. So you can start, stop them, you can swap them, whatever you want to do with animations, basically can be controlled with the high-level SDK. We also support 3D transformations, of course, like heading, roll, tilt, so you can rotate your objects, but not just the 3D objects, also the 2D objects, like here a euro coin, which could be kind of spinned around, and doesn't necessarily have to be a 3D model. It can also be a 2D model, or actually a 2D image, which sometimes is a lot easier for developers. Animations is very important for us because we believe that an augmented reality scene has to have a lot of animation, user interaction, has to be very dynamic, to be exciting, to be thrilling, to make the user come back and using the application again. So we support different kinds of animations. One is the property animation. That's a very basic animation type in the SDK. Basically means that you take a numeric property and animate it over time from value x to value y. You can use easing curves, which kind of define the the way the animation is actually being played. You can add elastic easing curves, or kind of easing curves jumping around. You can check out our SDK with a full list of the easing curves that we do support. So that's for the property animations. Then we use and we support sprite animations. Sprite sheets basically allow a two-dimensional drawables to be animated or appear animated. Like here, a bird flying around, like this. You would have to animate that. You would have to use different keyframes in the sprite sheet here and define the way these keyframes are actually being played to make it appear as a flawless animation. And this is basically what you can do with sprite animations. You define the sprite sheet, you define the keyframes, and how these things are being played. And I already told you we do support model animations, and we do support animation groups, which basically allows the control of the animations and how they are being played. You can use parallel or sequential animation groups, basically, to have better control about when animations are being played. And a lot more. In the SDK, we do have something that we call the radar. You've probably seen that in multiple or in different AR applications, where in a two-dimensional way you can actually see where your points are in a three-dimensional scene. Makes finding the points a lot easier, especially in geo-based scenarios, of course. We do support direction indicators on the very top right, so that the user actually gets an indication where your points are, or where the point is that he should specifically be looking for if it is not on the screen right now. So he can actually move towards the top right to get the point in the field of vision. We do support relative locations, for example, relative to the user, and fully. A lot of events that are actually being carried out, you can register for events and carry out some functions in JavaScript as soon as one of these events is actually appearing, like click animations or objects moving in and out from the scene. And of course, a lot more. Feel free to check out the SDK or ask any questions, and let us know what you think. Okay, but what if? Now we've talked a lot about developing augmented reality scenes and what you do if you're a JavaScript or web developer. But what if you are not a developer, or you do not want to start a development from scratch, or you want to look for, or you're actually looking for a tool to ease the development? And so we have something for you that eases the development, which we call the Wikitude Studio, which will also be released in spring this year. And this is going to be, it's a very exciting for us, very, a new great tool for our developers and for the people who are actually not developers but really want to create augmented reality scenes without development skills, for example. So the Wikitude Studio is easy AR creation for everyone. You don't have to be a programmer, you don't have to be a programming guru. It's fully web-based, so you can basically log on to our webpage and don't have to install anything. You don't have any dependencies, no requirements. You just log onto a web page and check it out. You can create your augmented reality scenes by simply using drag and drop, a drag and drop interface. And we do support 3D models. We do support these 2D images. We do support the entire things that I just told you in a drag-and-drop web-based scenario. So basically, for you, it's the augmented reality content management system that will be available to you on the web. And so basically, I think that I'll let someone explain the Wikitude Studio to you. You will immediately see who that someone actually is. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. All right. Sorry for that. Hi, I'm Martin, Wikitude CTO, and I have fantastic news to share with you today. We're launching the Wikitude Studio, the world's easiest web-based augmented reality creation tool. By logging onto Wikitude Studio on our website, you can let your creativity go wild. Create your own amazing augmented reality apps. No programming skills needed. Put magic on print media, billboards, brochures, packaging, or even apparel, like t-shirts. The sky is the limit. Along with Studio, we are also launching a fully optimized update of our Android and iOS SDK, integrating our own image recognition and tracking engine, built completely in-house by our talented Wikitude development team. But enough of talking. Let me show you the ease of use of the Wikitude Studio and the power of our technology. Simply log on to studio.wikitude.com, create a new project, or open an existing one. Start adding target images via drag and drop. In this example, we will create a full-page print ad for an Italian supersports car. We've already chosen the target image, and we're now adding augmentations. We're starting by adding a 3D model of this amazing Italian vehicle. You can position and scale it to where you want it to appear later on the target image. You can rotate it and even change the opacity if needed. Of course, the most important element of your AR experience is the call to action. You can add buttons to web pages, Twitter, Facebook, and the like. You can add videos or whatever suits your particular project best. In this example, we are adding a Book Now button for a test drive, linking to the car manufacturer's website. Once you're done, you can export your project to create a unique URL referencing your project. One of the great features of the Wikitude Studio is that you can test your project during the creation process. Simply click on the Preview on Device button. The target images will then appear on the screen. Simply use your device to experience your creation come to life. And that's it. It only took a couple of minutes to create this fantastic experience, sure to engage your users and your customers. All right. So now I'm back. Well, basically, again, to point out, this is something that we're going to release very, very soon. The Wikitude Studio as the content management system for augmented reality applications, and the updated version of our SDK, fully in-house, fully optimized for the Wikitude platform and for you as a developer. So if you want to get news about the Wikitude Studio, you can check out studio.wikitude.com. You can sign up for a newsletter to make sure that you are the first one to be actually notified when Studio is out. If you're interested in our SDK, you can check out wikitude.com/developer for downloads, tutorials and samples, documentation, getting started guides, for newsletter registration, for everything that you need if you want to use the Wikitude SDK for your project. And if you have any questions, if you want to get in touch with other developers, you can check out forum.wikitude.com. There are actually lots of other developers out there who will answer your questions, or you can also get in contact with Wikitude staff to, well, basically get answers to whatever questions you have. And I hope I made it in 20 minutes because that's all that I have so far. Thank you.
Do you have any questions while we're getting set up for the next speaker?
Does the Wikitude Studio allow for geo augments as well?
Not in the very first version that we're going to release, but we are actually releasing in a phased launch. So you will see geo-based augmented reality also soon on Wikitude Studio.
Viruses from attaching.
Sorry?
What type of things would you use from viruses to attach? You know, people might use some of these images, make people look at them because they'd be fascinated with them, and prevent viruses from attaching to them and going into other areas.
Well, I mean, as you've seen here, the Wikitude Studio is something that you create. So you would actually upload these videos, but where these things are actually played is within the Wikitude app, or within the app that you are actually creating. So say you create a project and you want to do something strange, you want to put up viruses and stuff, you would actually, well, just do harm to yourself, because you would spread an application which...
To prevent, like when someone clicks on it, if you were to click on something that someone else created, how would you prevent some of those things, or does this application make it so that those things aren't attachable? I'm just wondering. Because this would be kind of really big. I mean, people would love to look at these things, and this would be some way that people would just absolutely love to create viruses.
But again, I mean, the Wikitude Studio is something that helps you in the development process. So you would develop that for your app. So, I mean, if you want to develop an app and you want to put virus in it, why would...
I would.
No. I mean, other people. But with the Wikitude Studio, you're actually creating apps. So you will create an app just to spread viruses, which, of course, is possible. That's for sure, but it's possible with any other app as well. It's not related to Studio as such.
Hello. When you create an application in Studio, do you get an APK, or do you have? How do you deal with the upload of the application on iOS, for example, which is quite painful?
Yeah. What you actually get is a URL which references the HTML file that is actually created, HTML, JavaScript, and stuff like that. And this URL you actually embed in your application. So what you get is a URL. And with the Wikitude SDK, there is a detailed step-by-step guide of how you actually transform this into an application.
Okay, so you generate a library that you then put in your application. Okay,
exactly.
Thanks.
Yes.
Is there any movement towards an more open development, whereas you download one app and it would aggregate content from multiple developers?
Well, I'm heavily involved in augmented reality standards. So what this would require is kind of a unique ground base of how people actually work together. And well, there is a significant effort being carried out so far in terms of getting augmented reality standards, describing a standard for, or actually creating a standard for describing augmented reality scenes. So one example is the Augmented Reality Markup Language 2.0 group, which I'm chairing, which aims at defining a standard which allows you to describe your augmented reality scene and then run it in multiple applications, which basically like the web does with HTML. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Martin, oh, Lechner.